here. I think we are live. Sweet. Alright, we are live, guys. Sweet. Alright. Glad to be back on here. I know, what was that, last week or this past week I did one of these, kind of gave everyone like a prep talk for Grands. That was really, really cool, really fun. Man, we got a lot of stuff going on. Show number 9, guys. It's been pretty fun doing these things. Show number 9. And it is November 9th, so that's pretty cool. Been number 9. Raced under the number 9 plate for quite some time, a few times, a couple times in a row. That number keeps on showing up. But yeah, guys, NWA Podcast coming out of Springdale, Arkansas, here at the NWA Podcast headquarters. Always a fun time. Got this stuff set up last week, and there's going to be some new upgrades coming up. Alright, so first and foremost, I usually do this, but I want to thank all of our supporters out there. Some of the big ones that comes to my mind is like Beer Budget. They always put out a good podcast. Greg Carter and Mike, they do a great job over there. Got to listen to them last night. They had a lot of good topics. Some of them I'm kind of doing a callback on. AOS Squared, that nice, awesome team here in Northwest Arkansas. Court Bierman, he does a great job for his team. Charles Bierman, Strecker, Samuel, Caleb, Sydney, and NWA BMX. I know we don't have a track yet, but that's in the works. I've heard some new information this week. It sounds like it's on the roll, and we'll be in breaking ground pretty soon. Runway Bike Park, awesome bike park just right down the road from headquarters. Awesome pump track, Jones Center for families, awesome facility. Love being there, being around there. It's like a second home to me besides here. So, for those that haven't heard just yet, the Intergalactic Sidehack Championship will not be at Grand this year, unfortunately. But thanks to the Hardesty, Heatwave, and other small sidehack races in the Tulsa area, Sand Springs BMX is stepping up to host the Intergalactic Sidehack Championship on November 25th. It will be during their pre-Grands race, which happens every year. This will be my first time ever going to it out of, 10 years of going to Grand, so this is going to be the first for me. It's going to be fun. Practice will start around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, to 1 o'clock. Of course, an hour of practice versus 5 hours of everyone else practicing. So, hey, at least we got an hour, so we feel pretty good about that. Can't wait. There's going to be a lot of cool faces out there. Hope to see Grant and the BMX team out there. I think Stray Hacking will be there this year. Maybe? I'm not sure. All of our other teams, local teams like Mediocre, maybe Cat Lady, I'm not really sure about them. AOS Squared, the Hardesty Heatwave champions, the AOS Squared team. Torker, you gotta include Torker because they're a big name out here. Of course, my team, Oklahoma Outlaws, Dark Horse, all those teams that were a part of the race series this summer. Can't wait to see everyone out there. Of course, we will be doing a grand show during the Sidehack Championship. It'll be right before the race starts. We're going to have a special guest with the shows going on. Also, there has been some changes for the new clinics going on during Grands Week. Dick Cheeseburger from the SE Racing team will be at Sand Springs BMX. At first, I thought he was just doing the 21 and over clinic. He is also doing a novice intermediate clinic, but after last night, now that's open to expert class, so there'll be novice, intermediate, expert, open to all from 2 to 4. That's going to be fun. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there. Rode with Jason Morris, Dick Cheeseburger out here at Bentonville Bike Fest this past year, and man, it was awesome just to get to meet him, get to watch him ride, hitting the stuff at the rail yard, that stuff that I usually go out and ride. That was fun. Of course, there's other clinics going on. The Nick Long Clinic, Connor Fields Experience. Man, there's a lot of clinics going on that week. So, I don't know if you guys got the new pool magazine for this month, but I've mentioned this a couple shows ago. But we lost one of our BMX pioneers of the sport, and for those that don't know, his name's Bernie Anderson, or also known as BA. He was a big pioneer in our sport. And the pool magazine, I've only seen this one other time, and that's when I just got into BMX. But a flashback to 2012 when Kyle Bennett passed away, and they had a huge tribute at Grands. They had a pool magazine dedicated to Kyle Bennett, going through his entire career, and they did the same thing with this. That was pretty awesome to me. I really enjoyed getting to read the article. Couldn't ask for a better article in the pool magazine. Right. When we lose pioneers, well-known racers, it's really cool just to see a tribute. But so yeah, kind of like all throughout the years that he helped in sport, every corner aspect of BMX he's touched, and man, you just can't. You can't just stop and like say, "Oh, he's just another guy." No, he was the guy in BMX, and a lot of BMXers has a lot to thank just because of him, because of his vision and everything that he put in. He's one of the guys. Without him, we wouldn't even have a Grants. So that's awesome. Of course, his son, BA and BR, it really helps the industry as well. Yeah, it was a pretty good article. Then, of course, you have the 90s to now. But another one that kind of piqued my interest was, where was it? It was about the Kansas tracks, or the tracks up to the northeast of us, which was an interesting article. Of course, they had the Track Operator Summit this past year or last year, and it was, I heard a lot about it, but, of course, from other track operators, but I thought it was interesting, like, these guys, where is it? It's all over the place. I'll eventually find it. I'll just keep on flipping. But anyways, they were talking about all three tracks in Kansas, Emory Park, was it Heartland, Park City, Kansas, about the main point about working together and as a team and not like separated. Because I've seen a lot of tracks where they try to work together, but like someone would get into an argument about something stupid, and then like later on they'll blow it off saying, "Oh, it was just nothing." But it was really cool getting actually to read that article. If I could find that. If you guys are the ones that jumps on and does the full magazine, you guys do an amazing job every time. I'm always interested to see like what you guys put in, what kind of cool article is next. Of course, you have Gold Cup and all kinds of stuff, Coffee with Bros. Looks like almost every region of Gold Cup had a pretty good turnout. Canadian Grands. Can't believe I didn't even mark it out. Canadian Championship. Of course, there's articles in here that from the 40th anniversary of the BMX Hall of Fame. Yeah, I can't find it, but man, it was a good article. I enjoyed getting to read that. That was pretty unique. Aha, I found it. So like, it's better, basically it's better together, and man, honestly, of course, most of the tracks that we have in BMX, it's all volunteers. I know there's some tracks that are for profit, some tracks that are non-profit, but a lot of tracks has volunteers. You'll either have somebody doing concessions, running the gate, sweeping a turn, track maintenance, whatever. You always have volunteers. And I thought that was pretty good. Like, you have Emory Park from Wichita, Hartwood, Topeka, Park City from Park City, Kansas. Yeah, I mean, they do make a pretty good statement when it comes to volunteer work and working together. Of course, there's state qualifiers, Gold Cup, all the big races. It's always fun to get to see something like that. Yeah, so if you got your pool magazine, check it out. Get a little article, of course, 90s to now. Well, I think it's 80s to now or 90s to now. But yeah, that was pretty interesting, pretty cool. Also, during Grands, I seen this really cool event last night that's going on, and I think everyone should pitch in, especially if you're not from the local area or if you're from the local area. This is a little good way of pitching into those families that can't really afford like Thanksgiving dinner or anything like that. BMX Ministries food drive. So from November 26th to 28th, the BMX Ministries is going to be hosting a food drive for the food bank of Eastern Oklahoma. So if you want to come, donate food, help some families out, go to the BMX Ministries pit area. Like I said, November 26th and to the 28th. It's always good to donate, guys. It's always good to help out families. It makes others feel good and makes you feel good. So, one of the big topics that kind of came to mind, of course, I watched the Beer Budget on the weekends. And last night, of course, I've heard just a hint of what's kind of going on, but last night kind of opened my eyes to like a whole big can of worms that, man, I put two and two together last night. Thought it was insane what's going on. So, of course, Beer Budget made shared a post last weekend, I believe, about Haro doing some changes, making some cuts, trying to adjust to the market more. For most of you that's been in BMX for the last 5-10 years, Haro has been, I mean, it's been up there, but in the last 5 years, it's kind of been on a decline. And of course, they got rid of mostly their Haro team for racing, and of course freestyle, you don't hardly see them on freestyle level either. So, what's going on with Haro making cuts? They can't really make any more cuts right now. They do, I mean, they're pretty much throwing themselves under the bus and call it quits. So, Mountain Dew, guys. I love it. But anyways, yeah, man, like, there's no race teams, no freestyle teams. What's next for them? Are they going to be gone and finished from the BMX world? Like, they're not the only ones that are putting themselves under the bus and kind of leaving. Mongoose is sort of going the same way, guys. And something I kind of took notice, even here in Northwest Arkansas, that there's not a whole lot of Mongoose bikes in Walmart like they used to be. I mean, over the last 5 years, I've seen a bunch of Mongoose bikes, the Mongoose Rebels, Freestyle, all kinds of stuff. But like lately, I haven't really seen that many bikes. It's like all the Walmart Huffies and Hyper, and yeah, that's very, very interesting to see all that. And I guess, like, they have something going on where Mongoose is disembarking with Walmart. Now, I wouldn't put it past that theory, but, like, it was something that Beer Budget brought up, and I thought, wow, that's actually making more sense even here in around the Bentonville, Rogers, Fayetteville, Springdale area, so that kind of makes sense. Of course, my first actual race bike was actually from Walmart. It was a little DK Jimmy Lee, and that's the first time I've ever seen first and only time I've seen DK in Walmart selling. Of course, before they had the Impact Side Hacks, they had all kinds of stuff, but like for a long time, I know Mongoose was selling pretty well with Walmart, and all of a sudden, it's kind of going away. They're trying to sell their stock off. That's interesting, because like if Mongoose is kind of getting out of the racing area like they did before, what's going on with Cam Wood? Like, you've seen Peyton Ridenauer out of Mongoose at the beginning of the year, and then what's going on? Now they're kind of cutting back too, because if you've seen it throughout the year, they've been kind of cutting back slowly. I haven't seen them with the USA BMX Foundation. I think they're cutting ties too. Like there's something going on there. Of course, with the market, the way it is, it's hit and miss, and it's very interesting. Yeah, because I usually see like a Mongoose Rebel, or of course, I've seen a few Mongoose mountain bikes, but not many like I used to. Because of course Schwinn and Hyper and what was that, Ozark Natural Trail, they've been kind of taken over. I'm pretty shocked a couple of years back where Hyper brought out a carbon e-bike, and all of a sudden I'm starting to see that at Walmart, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's interesting. Getting to see a carbon bike in the Walmart. I've never seen that before, but now that I'm used to it in the last couple of years, I think since Hyper has their warehouse just right down the road in Siloam Springs, I've got a couple of friends working there. One of the National Hall of Famers, Travis Caprice, and of course one of the guys that used to take care of Rail Yard. Man, they operate a really cool warehouse over there. Yeah, it's interesting how the bike industry is kind of changing up. So that brings me to my next question, like, who's going to fill their shoes? Who's going to fill that void in the BMX industry? Because if Haro's going out the door, if Mongoose is headed the same way, then there could be any opportunity. Of course, you have Send It out there. You have, well, I haven't really seen Yes out there that much. And I kind of miss the old companies that used to be out there but kind of died off. But it would be really cool to see them back. I would actually like to see a return of the Red Line. Of course, they're making bikes, but they haven't really been out there. Like, they stopped making their carbon frames a few years back, and they haven't really done much ever since. They've been referring back to the Red Line Pro line instead of the Red Line Flight frames. I'd like to see a return to the Murray. I mean, I know it's an old school bike, but I would love to see the old school companies come back, like AMF or Kuwahara, especially Kuwahara, because I'm a diehard Kuwahara fan. I love the frames. I love to see Diamondback. Dude, that would be insane to see Diamondback come back. Of course, I know Powerlet, they've been trying to pick their way up to the top for trying to get out there. And the last couple of years I haven't really seen them, but like, what was that, 3-4 years ago, they came out with a frame and they try to get back into production, but I haven't even seen them that, a year or two. That's very interesting. So I was going to get one of those Powerlight frames, but I haven't seen them up and running. Of course, you have other old school frames coming back that's been kind of out of it for 15, 20 plus years, like Torker and Elf, like Racing. It's interesting, like with Torker coming back to the game. I mean, that's really cool. To me, that's really cool because, like, I've always heard good things about Torker back in the day. And of course, you have David Ramey. He's one of the big ones that's putting Torker on the map. Him and Nate, and it's really awesome. And then, of course, you got Elf. I've heard from one of my good friends that used to race, and he said he used to race on Elf. Elf bikes are slowly coming back, but they're on the march to come back to the racing scene. I know they got a few teams out there. So, like, while all this is going on, while Haro's kind of going out the door, Mongoose is sort of going out the door, like, is there something going on behind the scenes that we're not even seeing? Is there a BMX company about to make a move and no one's going to notice until the move's already done? I've seen it happen before. I absolutely have seen it happen before. With Intense, Stats. I mean, Stats was there for a few good years. Double Cross, they were there for a few years. But, like, are they going to be going into one of the biggest, like, industries here in Northwest Arkansas? Maybe. You already have Hyper, you already have, what was the other one? Hyper. Yeah, because Mongoose is going out. Yeah. So, anyways, could they be implementing something into the big Walmart chain? I was on a phone call earlier with one of my buddies and up from the Joplin, Carthage area, and man, he made some good points. You know, we were on the same page there. We think something big's going to be sneaking into the Walmart chain pretty soon. Really don't know what it is, but man, it'd be interesting to see. It could be another major BMX company making moves, trying to expand. You never know, but one of the names that kind of was brought up in the conversation was Toby Henderson. Of course, you have Toby Henderson with Racing and Send It. And then, of course, one of the big companies that came up last night on the show was Box. So, pretty much, I kind of got a little rundown of what Box and Toby Henderson is and was. So, Box, of course, supported Toby Henderson, and I wouldn't put it past Toby Henderson absorbing Box. Of course, the components on Racings or Send It, they're all Box components. So, could Box become part of Toby Henderson's empire? Well, I wouldn't say empire, but like the part of like bikes, instead of calling it Box, he'll be calling it something else. That'd be interesting, because like you had Alpha that got disbanded 2 years ago, I think. And man, there's not a lot of those bikes out there that I've seen, but they're out there. like I said, double cross. You're going from an old school frame to on a modern new school frame, and you don't get to see that many of those bikes out there. There's only 2 of them that I still know that's still out there in the Oklahoma, Arkansas area, and they're fun to ride. But going back to like Race Inc. and Send It, they kind of have almost the same frame. If you take a look at it, I mean, I believe it was Send It had the chain guard problems versus the Race Inc., which, I mean, I've heard like little bits and pieces of when Send It came out, and that was really interesting because Race Inc. came back out at the same time Send It came back out, and it was a big uproar. But man, what an interesting topic with Haro and Mongoose. I can't wait to see what happens the next 2 years, especially next year, because I know the bike world and everything going with mountain bike and more than BMX. Yeah, that's very interesting. So, guys, I mean, coming up in the next, 2.5 weeks, we have the Grands. The Grands is coming up. We got 18 days left. 18 days and counting. And, wow. So, like, I've been hearing over the last few weeks, like, where's the layout? Is there going to be a design for it? One of the questions came up there on the Beer Budget Show last night, and I was thinking, well, I want to actually see this answer. Old School mentioned that if you're looking for a layout for Grants, it ain't going to happen. So I kind of want to see if he's telling the truth or not, because that'd be interesting. So, yeah, usually this time of the year they put out the layout design for the track. Don't fill up the jumps because it could change. But yeah, I think that'd be interesting to see what it's like. Of course, we're going to do a track preview during the week of Grands. If you're going to Grands and you're wanting to look for some really cool stickers, go to Beer Budget BMX, the Beer Budget podcast. They have some good stickers coming out that I just seen. Of course, they're the normal Beer Budget logo with glitter. And dude, those things are sick. So yeah, Beer Budget stickers. If you want some, go find my buddy Core Bierman or Rick Carter over there at the gate 910. And also, like, those that's just now jumping on, like, so of course there's been a big argument between, like, should I get a subscription or not on the Flow bikes, because this year they've already announced that Flow bikes will be streaming the Grand Nationals due to the, of course, Pro Championship Series ending there at Grands. But, like, I understand that, like, they have a contract with Flow bikes, but for those that really can't afford it and have to pay all that money just to go to Grands, to also try to stream Grands on their phone to check the motos, like that's a little bit ridiculous. But of course they have a contract that will do a pro payout. It's honestly, what do you guys think? You know, if you're even catching this show a little bit late, you know, add in the comments what you guys think. But honestly, with, of course, Nick Long doing his duffel bag dash, which amazing job every time, every year. Shout out to Nick Long for doing all that for all the pros, amateurs. He's the crown jewel of BMX. But that, yeah, I mean, even if you have families back home that don't really tune in to BMX racing, but like watch their grandkids or their son, daughter, whatever, and they're not like familiar with flow bikes. They don't really want to pay the subscription, pay the money just to watch 3 rounds or 2 rounds, whatever it is. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's my opinion on it. And of course, I've been told many other things like, you shouldn't think of it that way, but like, I'm thinking about everyone else besides the rich. Because of course you got the rich, you got the middle, and you got the poor. That's what I always learned growing up. So, of course, what's everyone's plan? Like, going to Grands, or you're gonna do something special, you're gonna go to some other events, stores there, out-of-towners, man. There's a lot of stores, shops, and stuff. Of course, there's going to be a limited amount of restaurants open on Thanksgiving Day, day 1 of Rock. Now, of course, I'm just going to be there racing, have a couple of first-timers with me. Hopefully. One of them said it. He's thinking that he'll be able to make it, but we'll see with his leg injury. But also, of course, November 30th, day 2 of Grands, the Undertaker's birthday bash. Yeah, the OG Undertaker is going to be 25 at the Grands. Quarter of a century. So all I'm going to do is like walk around on a bike, wave at everybody, check on everybody, see how everyone's doing with the racing. Not doing much. Of course, we have some rule changes coming up for 2026, and there's going to be a big show question about it. It's like, I've been thinking about it over the last couple of weeks since they announced it, and I thought, that's going to be iffy with a lot of riders. I've already talked to several big name riders, and especially in the cruiser class, and they're not really too happy about it. That's just a little bit more than what they have to spend. But anyways, of course the transponders are already in play for the pros, the vets, ABA futures, expert girls. Next year they're implementing the cruiser class in the women's cruiser class. So for those that have been racing cruiser for a long time, that just now have to pay a little bit more to even race, or even go race nationals. It's ridiculous. And of course I've heard 2 sides of it, especially like going to Gold Cups, Gold Cup finals, that they don't require them. But it's very interesting. It's an interesting topic with like what's next. I know they're leaving the novice and intermediate class alone, but pretty soon they'll be tapping into the intermediate class. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, but of course they put them in motocross. I've heard some stories about that they just killed off some of their rider count. And that brings me to my question of the show, like, with transponders being in the top of next year's requirements, will the rider count at nationals continue to decline? I mean, the last couple of years I've been kind of seeing a decline. I've been watching some of the nationals, and especially Arizona and Florida this year. My gosh, there's people getting called out left and right because of something going on with their transponder, and they have to, and if it's not the rider's fault, they have to go back and race because they didn't qualify out either round 1 or 2. That's very interesting, and see how next year riders count at nationals is going to play out. we got some grand shows coming up. So far, we got November 25th, Sidehack Showdown, the Intergalactic Sidehack Championship, Sand Springs BMX. Of course, we're going to have a special guest there. Not really sure who it is just yet, but I'll be putting out a suggestion box if a person wants to come and be a special guest. Of course, we'll have 2 or 3 opportunities for special guests. November 26th, or the next day, we're going to have the Grand Track preview. We're going to be talking a bunch about the new the NAG riders, the NAG 5 Challenge, all that kind of cool stuff. And of course, I think we're going to have one on that Saturday, so November 29th. We may do one there. Just depends on like how busy I get and if we have a special guest for that day. And of course, you have some events going on at Grand's. The Moto's Vintage Bike Show going on November 29th, so day 1 of Grand's, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Always a good time. Always enjoy hanging out with my buddy over there in Tulsa, Cash Matthews, putting that on. Man, I got a lot of notes today. Of course, we have a couple of bike parks opening up pretty soon, within the next week or two. We have the Rock Yard in Tulsa opening up, which is almost like the rail yard. That's in Tulsa, Oklahoma, on the, I believe it's the west side of Tulsa, at Turkey Mountain. So I believe they will be opening that up next weekend during the Cold Turkey Bike Fest. So that sounds like it's going to be a fun time. Unfortunately, I won't be making it out there, but from the videos and pictures I've seen, it's pretty good. Pretty awesome. Okay, so we have the just right up the road, the Momentum Bike Park, which is considered the largest bike park in the state of Missouri, up there in Joplin, Missouri. I was trying to go up there a couple months back, but they were pretty much closed off to the public. So November 24th, so that will be the Monday of Grand's Week. At 3 p.m., I believe, will be the ribbon cutting, grand opening, and I know a lot of BMXers up there in the Joplin, Carthage, Neosho area is going to be up there. Hopefully I can make it up there. I'm not really sure at this point. I got a lot of stuff to get done before Grand's. Like I said, I got a couple of first-timers going there. Actually, no. I have 3 first-timers going up there. Well, I think 4 or 5, actually, just now thinking of it. So, yeah, that's really, really cool. NWA BMX having some first-timers go to Grand's. Of course, a couple of them has been racing for years. One of them, in which I've been kind of taking under my wing the last couple of years, he's finally getting to go to Grand's and getting to see what I've been talking about and what I couldn't stop talking about for the last couple of years. One of them, it's his first time, and of course, it's just him and his mom after his dad passed away, Jacob Baldwin. He's going to have a fun time, first Grand's. A lot of people's going to be encouraging him. I know Bike 918 is one of those guys that will be out there on the fence line. And that a lot of people has his back. Of course, Kirk Young, Carlos, my buddy Carlos, yeah, that adds up. So about 4 or 5 people going to Grants for the first time out at NWA BMX. That's awesome. Without a track, guys. 2 years without a track, and we have first timers going out there. That's incredible. So I can't wait to see what happens there. I know we're gonna have some shows coming up next weekend at Sand Springs BMX. We'll be out there, of course. I'll be out there doing side hack practice, getting ready for the championship. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Hopefully we can get PJ Baker, track operator, Sand Springs BMX, to be one of our guests out there. November 23rd, that we're going to have another session of side hacks. Getting out there, we'll have another special guest. Of course, the 25th, we have the side hacks at Sand Springs. We may or may not have somebody to guest that. Not really sure, but I know one guest has already got with me and mentioned that they want to be a part of that. Then, of course, the 26th, track review, kind of give a rundown on the Mag 5 Challenge and how the track is. Of course, the layout's not out yet. It's been somewhat teased in two different ways. One with Barry Noble saying that it was a short hill. Second was USA BMX kind of giving a little hint at it with the 2007 layout, which is almost like the 2012 layout, but without the burn jump. But yeah, it has been most of the notes I actually kind of got. Wow. Yeah, just a lot of stuff going on for Grands Week. And we're down to 18 days, guys. That's, what, 2-3 shows away? Dude, I can't wait. That's going to be interesting. It's always a fun week at Grands. Always a fun week. Besides last year. Last year, of course, day 1 of Grands wasn't feeling too hot. Day 2, oh, excuse me. Mountain Dew. Yeah, day 2 I kind of came down sick. But whatever, guys. I mean, it's always fun to get to see the family, friends, people that you haven't seen in years. It's going to be a fun time. So, I'm going to be up here for the next couple minutes. Anyone that pops in that wants to, that has a topic that we haven't discussed yet, or one of the topics we've already discussed, jump in, comment. Of course, I'm kind of doing a little video of going to Grands this year. I've been trying to do that for the last few years, and it hasn't really been working out. This year, I'm starting from scratch. I know where I want to take it. So yeah, this year's Grands is gonna be fun. 2 years, guys. And of course, I have a little remaster of my short video from 10 years ago going to Grands. So that's going to be fun. And that's all the notes I had for the day. Of course, we don't have no special guests, so we're kind of going a little bit faster with this today than normal. I don't know. We're up to 50 minutes on it. That's pretty awesome. But yeah, stuff like Haro and Mongoose and all kinds of like rules change, man. The BMX world is changing quick. Especially with the rules this year. Everyone's getting a mix up on the, what is that, transfer system, and yeah. 2025 has been a weird year. But anyways, I think I'm about to jump off, but it's been fun doing this show, and can't wait to see you guys next Sunday at Sand Springs BMX. We will have a special guest. Don't know who it might be, but we will. And yeah. So hopefully I'll see you guys next Sunday. Got it rolling. And yeah, see you guys later.